Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? So, thank you all for stopping by as usual. I hope you are all doing well. Um, so today we are going to be speaking with Marcus Stiglegger of Vortex. He is out of Germany, and he, as well as working with Dark Ambient, is in several other music projects and works in various ways with film. So we will be getting a bit deeper into all of those things today. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and drag him into the screen here. Drag him in kicking and screaming. Let me unmute you here real quick. I think they can probably hear you potentially, but I can't. Okay, here we go. All right.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Hi, Michael. It's a great honor to be here, and I was looking forward to this talk over the last weeks after our first conversation about this. And let's see what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love doing these things so much. There's like just so many of you guys are just really cool people, and I am it just like every week I am reminded why I'm so happy to be doing this week after week. And I was wanting to switch it back to like twice a month, and I just keep booking people. Like I just
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to a point where I run out of people to talk to, but you guys, all of you listening, and yeah, everybody just has to keep throwing people in my direction, and we just have to keep doing this because I love it so much. So, and I am particularly excited to be speaking with you today because I have been loving your project since I started to really get deep into this stuff back in probably 2016 or so was when I really started to dig my feet into the dark ambient scene pretty heavily. And your project has been revered throughout the community since then. And I would say, for me personally, I really love all of the music that I've heard of yours, but this music video that you and Lamia Vox did recently has just absolutely blown my mind. I think I've already played it at least 2 or 3 times on stream, and I am gonna absolutely play it again today here at some point. Before we get too deep into the musical ends of the discussion, I would like for the audience to go ahead and check out that whole video with us because I think it really speaks so much to your musical talents and your eye for film production. I want to find out more about how much specifically you had to do with that. But I also just I think regardless of where how much your hands were in the work, I think your critical input probably was pretty important in that process. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm imagining.
I can be really specific about this later. Yeah.
Perfect.
No
Perfect.
problem.
Sounds good. So I think usually the best place to get started is for even with people that do know more or less about your project. It's always good to sort of get the background from your perspective. So if you could just give us a little bit about what, sort of your short history of yourself. What led up to the moment that we're at here? What got you started with Vortex in particular? And yeah, well, let's just talk about the music for now, and then we'll get more specifically into other things. But what was some of the music that got you interested in this genre, and what led you to become the musician that you are today?
I think it starts in my early teens when I saw the first, what was called back then Gothic waivers, but today you would say it was early Gothics. And so it was about 1984, I guess, because I was born in 71, and I was pretty aware of what was going on during the whole 80s, but not taking part of it actively because I was too young at a certain point. But yeah, there was music circling around. I saw films like The Hunger and came across Bauhaus, and the song Bela Lugosi's Dead really rang a bell with me. And then I came to know some people from the punk and gothic background in the late 80s, and especially one person, Patty, who was very important in. She's now a concert promoter in Germany, and still,
Nice.
and she is was really important in my beginnings, listening to more extreme music, more dark music, and I always had this sensibility, probably, but sometimes you just don't find the things that really you're after. And I started with film music, Tangerine Dream stuff like that, very atmospheric things. And this was probably the first step towards dark ambient later, because I started listening to all these styles on a parallel level, probably. I listened to gothic rock, to industrial music, like the original industrial, like SPK and stuff like that, to apocalyptic folk like Current 93 and Death in June, all around the same time in 89 and 90.
Oh, that's
Which
perfect.
really got me, yeah, which really got me into that scene. And it was climactic times for that, because there was a tour of Current 93, Sol Invictus, and Death in June touring together. It's not imaginable
Oh man,
later,
that's awesome.
as you know. Yeah, I saw them in Frankfurt, because I grew up around Frankfurt area, which is in the middle of Western Germany, actually. And so it was this experience, basically. But I became so interested that I became a DJ back then in a gothic club, Scarabaeus, and which was run by Patty, who got me into this whole stuff. So
Nice.
she's to blame. And we got all concerts by all those people we admired, like Shadow Project, Ross Williams, like Death in June and Boyd Rice, and they were all coming to our club sooner or later, and I was DJing back then, so I had a really, really inspiring surrounding, which always drew me further into that world. And during the 90s, it was very attractive and still affordable to travel to London twice a year, which I did in my 20s. And I went there to the Torture Garden and to the Slimelight Club and all that. So I was following those people. I was following the musical tendencies, and but I never really attempted to make my own music. I have to admit that, because it was very late in my life, like seen from today, that I started actually making music. It was basically mixing music as a DJ. And this went on till around 2000. And then I felt some interest in getting deeper into creating stuff, and I started with making videos, especially for a guy who's running Tosoa, the band Tosoa, and which is on Tesco. And so I got into this realm as well, and started making video clips for that, and very cheap, low-level, no-budget video clips, improvised, edited stuff. But as it is in the industrial scene back then. So when I came to know all these people and was organizing concerts and so on, I think it was a guy from a German industrial band called Beinhaus who gave me a sound program for sound mixing, and then started playing around with samples. That was the beginning of Golgotha. Golgotha was founded around 2004. And in 2005, I made a self-recorded debut album called Wasteland, based on the poem of that title.
Nice.
Because for me, I was always interested in literature, arts, philosophy, and so on. And the vorticism, this tendency, was very important back then. And T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound and all these people were very inspiring for me. But so this all went into the project Golgotha. Golgotha was a name, it's the German name for Golgotha, probably in English then. It's the place where all the monotheistic religions are connected together. And as my projects always tended to be very pagan, it was an interesting dynamics playing with this name, probably. So
just to cut you off here for a second. No, I don't want you to lose where you're at. But so I'm just as a plug, and also because it's relevant to the conversation. This is a book that I just got done reading here a couple of weeks ago by Craig Williams. And so the way that, I've thought of Golgotha as like it's usually described as like the hill that Jesus was on, like the
right.
I've specifically heard it repeatedly as the hill, but the way that you just described it as like a melting pot of all the religions, that really speaks more to that book than how I had previously seen it, because that book is all about just bringing all sorts of things together to make something new out of it. So, yeah, I just thought I'd sort of throw that in there.
No, that's it makes total sense, because I was raised. My mother was a religion teacher, so I was very much aware of monotheistic tendencies and got all the stories from very early childhood on. But I was always rejecting these concepts for myself, and I was drawn towards nature, towards mysticism. And close to the place where I live at Mainz, there is Bingen, the place where Hildegard of Bingen lived. And so there's museums and the monastery where she was, and the ruins of the monastery and all this. So the Christical mysticism was something I was interested in, and all kinds of shamanism. So probably this is a metaphor. Golgotha was a metaphor for something to deal with, but not to identify with. And this idea to create something new out of dealing with all these elements, that's a very interesting thing, and is very close to what I had in mind. I think the Wasteland album by Golgotha is also the birth of Vortex, because the idea of vorticism was already there, and Vortex is the short form, or the idea, the key metaphor for vorticism, as the creative force working in this vortex. So the idea was to go towards this concept with musical means. And it developed in a very strange way, because I met another musician, and we collaborated, and he brought in acoustic guitars, and we developed Golgotha in the direction of more of a apocalyptic or neo-folk band. I've seen it as a kind of pagan folk or ritual folk, because I never identified with the idea of neo-folk, because this is a very German idea in the beginning of a German language folk bands, and which is totally okay for me, but it's not what we did, because we used English vocals to be more kind of international from our appeal, and at the same time we did never identify with Germanness in any way, like with this idea of national thing or any metaphors in this direction.
Yeah.
And so our idea was to create ritual music with acoustic instruments, including the acoustic guitar. And this went to a certain point where it didn't work anymore. And so Golgotha ended with probably the most complex and best album we did, Horns of Joy, on the Trisol label, which is a huge Gothic label in Germany. And at that time, there was Ostara and Spiritual Front was on that. So it was a great surrounding, but the band did not work out as a band anymore because the spiritual potential was kind of blocked by these conflicts in the band. And out of this necessity, I founded Vortex as a solo project. And that was the beginning of Vortex in 2008, so pretty early, parallel to Golgotha. And with Vortex, I started on Tesco, but when the first album was out, it was called Phanopoeia, which is a term from Vorticism, obviously, and there's like liner notes referring to that. And it was the idea to create music based on the ideas and the literature by Ezra Pound mainly. And so as the Wasteland album was dedicated to kind of the work of T.S. Eliot, so this was more dedicated to Ezra Pound. But I probably had a feeling that the Tesco label was in a way too industrial for the sound I was aiming at. And at that time, I came to know a lot of the early Cyclic law, dark ambient projects. And I would not consider Vortex a dark ambient project in the classical sense of drones and being too atmospheric and working on a very like minimalistic idea of music, which I really adore, because a lot of the projects on Cyclic Law I really listen to myself, and I would do that even if I had never created music myself, obviously. But what I was aiming for was a kind of ritual music, like a pagan-based ritual music with an atmospheric edge. So, and I think Cyclic Law, and even the name is perfect. Yeah, the idea of the Cyclic Law, the world serpent, the mythical thinking, that was all the things I was into, like beginning in probably 1990. And when I went to university to study cultural anthropology, for example, it was really the stuff I always dealt with. And this was the real birth of Vortex, probably, when I started to do releases on Cyclic Law. And then I built on certain ideas, and most of the albums were concept albums, like the Kali Yuga album was dealing with the concept of Kali Yuga, the end of the world and the rebirth. And even the As Gods Fall album is kind of the Ragnarok album. The funny thing is that it was called Ragnarok in the beginning, but then Vatruna were first. And brought out this really great album with the same title.
Oh, yeah,
so,
that was
it
about the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah, about the same time, like we were some months later. And so I said, okay, we do it like, and I even had to talk back with native speakers of English to discuss, okay, is it When Gods Fall? Is it, and so I think Lucas Lantier of Cinema Strain, she came up with the idea, it has to be As Gods Fall because it has several layers of meaning and can seen this or that way. And so this came together with the artwork, which was also great on the album. And it all, like, I think As Gods Fall is the most perfect vision that, in my opinion, that we managed to do. And I say we because I started working with people regularly. It's still a solo project, but there is guitars, for example, by Oliver Freund, whom I also have the folk project Mars with. And there's a lot of electronics I get from some friends. So it's kind of a collaborative but solo-based project now. And the Helios album is for me, it's continuing the path that As Gods Fall created, and I'm following this in the next time as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and so I guess like so the previous album is God's Fall, as you said, that focuses more on Norse mythology.
Right.
And so I'm wondering specifically, I was thinking earlier when I was listening to Helios, where does Mithras fall into this for you? Do you have any great connection with the god, with Mithra? And is that
Yeah.
was that like just an influence for the track, or are you more deeply influenced by Mithra in some way?
Yeah. The Helios album is dealing with sun cults and sun mythology. So each track was based on the idea to deal with a certain aspect of sun mythology.
Mm.
And the Mithras cult is basically a sun god cult. It's Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. And at the same time, in this area where I live, we have a Roman castle, the Saalburg. And this Roman castle is part of the limes, this border wall, which was the border between the Roman occupied territory and the tribe territory of the Germanic tribes.
Oh wow, that's
And
near you.
yeah, that's
That's cool.
like 20 kilometers probably, and there are still some ruins of towers, and they rebuilt some stuff. And I think the most perfect recreation of a Roman castle is there, and you will find all the legionary everyday stuff there, and how they created their food and the weaponry and so on. And it's so at that place, there's also a Mithras temple. Later, I was
Nice.
made aware that this Mithras temple was basically built on the original Mithras cult place, but is not from back of the Roman times. It's recreated, I think, in the 19th century,
Nice.
dedicated to this, because in the late 19th century, there was huge interest, as you probably know, in Europe and in Germany as well, in like ancient in mythology and cults and occult things generally. So I was pretty much aware how important the Mithras cult, which was imported from Persia by the legionaries, by the Romans, into all the occupied places. And so they brought Mithras with them. And Mithras was worshipped in caves. And most of the time it's like a cave with an altar. And on this altar, you see Mithras killing what's it called? The English word is missing.
I'm sorry, I should be able to help you with this, but you are giving me like a really nice refresher on the cult of Mithra.
Yeah, it's so hard to remember all the details all the time, and you deal with it.
You are
really
impressing me right now with the amount that you're remembering right off the top of your head.
Okay, what's the name of male cow?
Of a male, a bull, steer.
Yeah, it's a bull. So Mithras killing a bull, and so this is on the altar, and it varies a little bit, but you will find it in several places throughout Europe, obviously. And then being aware of this, I visited several places of Mithras worship, and I tried to come up with a sound which, for me, represented these places. And so this is the most atmospheric track probably on the album, and also one of the most experimental. It was created in collaboration with Carsten Bergemann, who lives also around here in the area, and who is more into really dark atmospheric ambient. And so we collaborated on this. And so he's working with analog electronics from the 70s and 80s equipment. And so it's a mixture of acoustic elements, of analog synths, and my voice, Oliver's guitar. And so most of the time, I collect these sounds, and then I compose and create these the tracks out of the different elements then.
Awesome. That's that was a much more detailed answer than I was expecting, but exactly as detailed as I was hoping for. No, because I am really fascinated by how much Mithras keeps popping up throughout all sorts of different topics, whether it's dark ambient albums or it's Middle Eastern history or European history or ancient Roman history, or it's like this thing just will not go away.
Absolutely.
No matter how much the world changes or where you are in the world, the cult of Mithras just keeps rearing its head up. Like I suppose like the bull that he's trying to take down, it just keeps pushing itself forward. So yeah, that's really cool. It's cool that you're close to a place that you were able to get that really direct inspiration from that. There's so many, the Romans left their mark everywhere in Europe, and to me, I mean, that was my main study in university was Roman history and archaeology. So whenever that crosses paths with this scene, I always like to draw attention to it for my own entertainment. It's
I would
totally
like to add
selfish.
I would like to add something to this because I'm regularly doing inspirational traveling with my friend Oliver from Mars, and we try to travel to places which inspire us and where we can find such influences. And we went to Rome, and obviously Rome has a lot of ruins, but Rome, I think the Italy today is so much focused on the Christian past that they try to push away the pagan influences. And we try to find some places of Mithras worship in Rome, which do exist in the basements of certain buildings, but it's very hard to find the right people who know what you're talking about. And to have the key to those rooms.
Yeah.
So we were not able to get into every place we wanted to because we always knew more than the people being there, which was really strange. But I think it's a obvious sign that especially in the city of Rome, they have this focus on Christian religion and Christian past.
Yeah, it's understandable because they've been there for so long in between, but damn it, the Roman Empire was so much cooler than the Holy Roman Empire, so or the Vatican Empire, whatever it was. But yeah, I could go on with talking about Romans forever, but we won't do that.
All right.
But okay, so I think now would be a good time for me to go ahead and give us a little break here, and we're gonna switch over and watch this Man on Fire video, because I'd like you to speak some about this track and about the video and everything. But first, I'd like for everybody to just check it out. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll watch this and then be back with you guys in about 5 minutes.
Great mass play awaits again. sense of freedom gone. This is like a black sun in a white world. Give me 69 years, another season in this hell. It's all sex and death as far as eyes can tell. Like Prometheus we are bound, chained to this rock of a brave new world. Our God-forsaken lot. And I feel that's all we ever needed to know. To world's end, and the sea runs cold. This is like a black sun in a white world. Give me 69 years, another season in this hell. There is sex and death in Mother Nature's plans. Like Prometheus we are bound, chained to this rock of a brave new world. Our self-made, God-forsaken lot. And I feel that's all we ever needed to know. To the world's end, and the sea runs cold. Like Prometheus we are bound, chained to this rock of a brave new world. This is like a black sun in a white world.
And I'll let the credits play out here real quick. All right, and back to us now. Yeah, so that is just I love that video so much. I've been saying in my streams that I really do believe that is, to me, that seems like the best dark ambient related music video that I have ever seen. Like, honestly, I think you killed it with that video. It's, I don't know, I think it just worked out really fantastic. It showcases you and Lamia Vox really well. The all of the the landscapes and everything used within it are really cool. It all just seems like it fits the sounds of the music really well. So with my praise through here, if you just want to take it from there and say whatever you'd like to say about the video.
All right. Yeah, it's hard to start after this. I'm very happy you say that because, yeah, this video is very important for me as well and very personal. At the same time, I have to give some credit first because this video was directed by a very close friend of mine, Danilo Vogt, who is credited there, obviously. Mm-hmm. And he's a filmmaker from Mainz as well. And we do a lot of stuff together and we know each other very well. And I have to say, he created it the way I was envisioning it. But I was not able to do it as he does because he is the professional filmmaker. He is able to compose these things in a way and in a technical way and to edit it and so Another thing is that Alina from Lamia Vox, this song was a collaboration which goes back to, first I have to mention the song Man of Fire, Man of Fire, Man of Fire on the Golgotha album, Tales of Transgression and Sacrifice, which came out in 2007 on Cyclic, no, not on Cyclic, and Cold Meat Industry in Sweden. And on this album, I wanted to pay homage to Dead Can Dance and to my favorite song by Dead Can Dance, which is Black Sun. At the same time, I was not able to create something which was on the same level as a Dead Can Dance song. I was clearly aware of that. So I reinterpreted this song based on its lyrics and tried to come up with a certain interpretation which was closer to my own ideas, but still respectful of the original. So it's not a classical cover version, it's more of a personal reinterpretation. And thus I changed the title at this. That was also something which came naturally, I don't know. Later, I played with my band Mars on a festival where also Lamia Vox was scheduled. And I was aware of her music, and I saw a close connection to the sound of Vortex as well, because I loved her music, and I saw it on the same vibes in a way. And
yeah, I could definitely see that.
Okay, some people don't, some people agree. And,
well, I mean, specifically, if we're talking about Cyclic Law artists, as you were saying, so many artists on Cyclic Law are very dark ambient and very subtle. And you and Lamia Vox are well, it's becoming more and more diverse, especially over these last few years. But if we look 5 years ago, you and Lamia Vox certainly stood out as the more percussive-driven, vocal-driven, ritual-driven projects on the label. So and
probably a little bit more gothic than the rest.
Yeah.
So which is totally fine for me. But it's the thing is that she didn't know that I was the founder of Golgotha, and we talked about that, and I told her that, and she said, "Oh my God, there's this song I always listen to, and this is one of my favorite songs. It's Man of Fire," and so I was really stunned by that, and it was really like touching me. And when we came up with the Helios concept, or I came up with the Helios concept, I was feeling this urge to recreate this song, because it's originally the idea of the Black Sun metaphor, probably in that sense, not in a very alchemic or anything kind of esoteric sense, but more of a metaphor for the colonial crimes in Africa. As I understand, and I think that this is something that Brandon Perry is really into, like dealing with all these historical things and as well. So it was, again, the idea to recreate something again on a different musical level then. And I was asking her, and she agreed. So I was very happy. And it was a long process, I have to say. I think it took about 1 year to create this one song, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
And we were sending things to and fro, and I was sending her vocals and sounds, and some of it she used, some of it she didn't, and then she sent back things. And at a certain point, she sent me a track which was really like fascinating. So I have to give her a very strong credit for her impact on that song.
Nice.
And I hope she someday will hear that or see that, and probably now, I don't know. I have to say it's really a great song, also because of her input and her energy that flew into that. When it came the time when we had to promote the album, I had several ideas which I wanted to to create. And Man of Fire was the most catchy song, obviously. And it was the idea that we could create this male-female dynamic in a video, which I so much adored from probably 80s and 90s gothic rock videos. So like some of the Andrew Eldridge, Patricia Morrison stuff or something like that.
Yeah.
And like the Dominion video or something like. And I asked her when she would be in Berlin, because I have like a room in Berlin in an apartment by an Iranian filmmaker, and he would be able to film her. And so I said, okay, you will be at this industrial festival around Sylvester or something, 2 years back, and we had like a slot of 3 hours. To film her there, and we filmed her in this like times of pressure in front of a black screen, so we were able to use her moves and the shots of her, which I really liked. It really worked out, and she's very like she has this certain presence and elegance which was necessary to do that, and I'm really happy about this. And this is also kind of the explanation, because some people ask, oh, why is there not more of her or something like that? We didn't have too much material, to be honest. But I'm glad it worked out that way.
I honestly thought it was the perfect combination,
right.
really. I mean, I'd always be happy to see more of her, but I think as far as the music video goes, it felt natural to me, so...
Yeah, it was like the dynamics of the song were very much mirrored in that. And for me, I had 2 sessions, so we had more material where I could create different impressions there.
Yeah.
There's more shamanistic and this masked version and so on. And then we were searching for material, and some of the material was stuff that was shot by the filmmaker Danilo, but some of the material were drone shots, which we licensed. So everything in that video is properly licensed, and we were able to like bring it really into public, and I think it works well, and most people seem to like it one way or the other. Sometimes people who are not into like dark music, they find it too probably too epic, too forced epic in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a problem for them, probably. I don't
That's their
care.
problem.
Because it has to have this this really huge gesture in a way, to work for my taste. And as you see in the credits, which are like working like with a short film on a way, there's everything referred to is everything is credited. So also Brandon Perry gets a credit and so on. So some people say, oh, it's a mass cover version of Dead Can Dance. It isn't. It is obviously something which we were really aware and worked with on a level of responsibility. So I'm really happy you like it. I hope other people do. And I think it's one of the strongest songs on the Helios album as well. And that's what I can say about this video.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering about that drone footage. I could tell like this is obviously some drone footage, and it's really good drone footage. So I was like, if you had got that footage yourself, I was just gonna be like, but so it makes sense that it's licensed because it's extremely professional. Like it looks really, it fit perfectly. It looks really nice.
Some things are combined, so you will never see where there's a connection of self-filmed material and the licensed material. Probably the most spectacular things, like the burned down landscapes, they are licensed, obviously. But there are some other things. I also tend to film wherever I am. And before the pandemic, I was traveling a lot, and I got shots in the Sinai Desert, for example, which we
nice.
worked with. But it's the material, and then it was recreated with CGI effects as well, and so you don't see the differences anymore. But it's not as easy as we are combined with some licensed stuff. It's more complicated, and but there's the credit to Danilo that he managed to really create something unique out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I guess now would be a good time to start to transfer over into your other areas of expertise. If you'll speak a little bit on how you work in relation to film and what got you to that point.
Mm-hmm. As long as I can think back, I always was adoring films. It began probably in childhood. I used to watch Western movies with my father in the afternoon on TV and later in the cinema as well. I started really thinking about films when I was around 11, I think, and started buying film magazines in Germany.
Oh, wow.
In the year 1982, when I was 11 years old, I bought my first issue of a German magazine called Cinema. And there was the month when Conan the Barbarian, Cat People, Wolfen, and The Road Warrior started. And I love these films still. And I think this was kind of the initiation. I was not able to see these films, but I saw the trailers. They were shown on TV and in cinemas, and there were the posters. And I was really feeling this urge to get into this strange world of films. And when I was 13, there was another very important thing. I smuggled myself into the film Blade Runner in the cinema.
Nice.
And with 13, it was so impressive. I've never seen anything like it. I never felt anything like it. And I think Blade Runner was, for me, a key experience to get me really into film art. And I never imagined to deal with film on a theoretical level as I do today, which is my job. I'm teaching film studies in universities. But at the same time, I was feeling the urge to make films myself. So when I got out of school, with 19 years probably, I applied as an assistant cameraman with a TV company, and which was a lucky circumstance because they were filming a traveling magazine, and we always were abroad. We were in Africa, in Kenya, and on the Seychelles, and all these countries. And so I was able to travel for free and working there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was really lucky 1 year only. And then I applied for film school and I was totally rejected. Nothing is, you are not able to go to film school, they told me. And I didn't realize that this was a strategy which is usual, to know if people really want to get into that.
Oh.
And to get into it, I filmed my first video, which is called Shamanistic Dream Play. In German, schamanistisches Traumspiel. And it was a kind of a shamanistic journey, a spiritual journey, with meeting an angel figure in trance. So a very Kenneth Anger-inspired film.
Nice.
I guess. I think
I love his work.
I have to check it, but it's it might be on YouTube as well, on my YouTube
Yeah, if
channel.
it is, I'd be interested in checking that out. That's cool.
Yeah, because some of my videos are on there. And I always wanted to be a filmmaker and realized I'm probably not the right guy to make films myself, because you have to get up early. You have to be the last one to go to bed. And then you have to have this nonstop energy. And for me, it was like, okay, DJing is, I'm working through the night, but I couldn't like combine these lifestyles, and
That makes sense.
so yeah, absolutely, you realize that, and then I'm still glad I didn't choose this path, because I would have burned out by now. And I see people, I know people who are making films, and I really adore them, but I'm glad with that what I do. And then I began studying cultural anthropology, theater, and film studies, and that brought me on the track of dealing theoretically with all these things. And when I realized, okay, there is still some creative potential, I focused only on the music, and probably on the film aspects, the visual aspects of my music, and that satisfies my urges in that way. But yeah, professionally, I'm teaching film studies, and I'm writing books on film. There's actually one completely English monography on the film Cruising by William Friedkin. It came out last year at Liverpool University Press, and it was
Nice.
co-written with a friend from Rome called Eugenio Ercolani. And we analyzed the whole film Cruising with Al Pacino, which is like a landmark late New Hollywood film, which is really unique because it documents the gay SM scene in New York at that time, which is not existing anymore, obviously. So if someone wants to read something in English, that would be the book on cruising. There are some articles in English. You will find some online, and a lot of German language things. A book on Kurosawa, for example. A book on a huge handbook on genre theory, things like that.
Nice. Yeah, and so I totally on another thing, I wasn't even thinking about our interview or music or anything. I was just watching YouTube a couple days ago, and you have a lecture coming up, don't you?
Oh yes, there is this. I think you are talking about the Occulture conference at Berlin.
Yeah.
And there's a lecture on the question: is there an occult cinema?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, this is an English language lecture within this online conference, because still of the pandemic, they chose to do it online, and will do it in person next year. The Occulture conference is done by. Interestingly, like, it's Berlin. In Berlin, there are always people who don't speak a word in German, but they are from Spain or from Colombia or from Canada. Like Frederic used to live in Berlin as well, and we met there regularly. So this is made by guys from the Spanish-speaking countries basically, and then they and I think it is connected to the Modern Burn dark ambient events in Berlin as well, which feature some of the Cyclic Law folks as well. And so there's a huge connection between dark ambient and occulture, as they and I call it now, like occult cultures. And to give it a more of a serious idea, because it's really like occult studies.
Yeah.
And people speaking there, they are really into the things, and most of them are from academic backgrounds, and they are, because in German academia, it's really hard to establish such topics, because in Germany they have this really like, no mythology, no occultism, no esoterics. It's really based on the Frankfurt School of Philosophy, which is a total rational way of thinking. And for me, the dialectics of enlightenment are have both probably the rational and the mythological, for example. And so for me, it is quite natural to deal with ritual structures in films, with mythic sources of film plots and so on, and of symbolism, obviously, also in films. And my question is, are there films dealing seriously with occult topics? And if you go back, you see there's a lot of playing around with sorcery in films, but not really with high magic or occult rituals in a serious sense. And it is as late as the 50s, where the modernization of the horror genre has some films by Jacques Tourneur. And he made this film Night of the Demon, which has been heavily sampled by, like, for example, Lustmord or Sol Invictus. And I think this film deals with the subject of rationality and occultism in struggling. But there are rarely films dealing seriously on that level. And probably the best example at the moment is an Irish film called A Dark Song. Which
I just watched that about a month ago, actually, for the second time. I really like that movie a lot.
So you could agree on my idea that this film is really occult cinema in the serious sense.
Yeah. Now, so I since you're the film that's coming to my mind that's one of my favorites, and you can be harsh on it if you want / need to, the Ninth Gate. What's your feelings on the Ninth Gate?
Yeah, the Ninth Gate is featured in my paper as well.
Oh, nice.
I think that there's an interesting thing with Roman Polanski, because Roman Polanski was obviously interested in occult things before his wife was killed by the Manson family. And these interests were also obviously in Rosemary's Baby, but not the way...
Just watched that last night.
All right, okay. So it's in there, but he has this this drive towards satirizing this and getting into an ironic distance as well, at the same time as he deals with it on the level of tension and suspense. And Rosemary's Baby is probably more of a psycho thriller dealing with pregnancy fears of a young woman. And only on a second level, it deals with the tendency of the occulture of the late 60s.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting. It's a very interesting, fascinating film still for me. And a lot of this comes from the Ira Levin novel it is based on. And after...
Yeah, I've been meaning to read that novel.
Yeah, you probably should, but it's more into the occult and also not as serious as well, but because it's more clear that the cult there is really like Satanists, and they are really creating the son of the Antichrist or something. Yeah. And the film is very open about this. It's not clear if she is imagining this.
Yeah, it never actually really shows the baby. I've heard Polanski talking probably numerous times on the topic of him. Right. From his perspective, it was all in her head. But that's like he was saying, like, if you ask my opinion, it was all in her head. But if you ask what the movie says, the movie doesn't tell you.
But that's true. That's true. And I think that when when his wife was killed and things changed a lot, and then he had this rape affair going on, and he had to leave America, and things. He is not very popular today, as you might know, especially in Europe as well now. He made this film, The Ninth Gate, as an ironic take on occultism, and probably in retrospective of how people interpreted his work with Rosemary's Baby, and to make his own wife the Antichrist in this film, and fucking the Antichrist.
That's a good point. Yeah,
Johnny Depp fucking the Antichrist, which is the wife of Roman Polanski in this film, is really like crazy and funny. And for me, the film really changed when I went to the Pyrenees, where this castle of I think it's Puy-Vert, where they filmed this.
Oh, you've been to the
This
castle.
final scene. Yeah, I've
That's
been there.
awesome.
It's very close to Montségur, to the Qatar. These are Qatar castles.
Yeah.
And you probably know that Frédéric is also living there now.
That's cool. I was not aware of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he moved there with his girlfriend.
I thought he was in Germany until like a couple of weeks ago. He's like, "Can you change that? I'm in France." I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah. That's true. He moved to France. Yeah. And he moved to the land of the Qatars, like Occitania. It's in the south of France, south of Toulouse, and towards the Pyrenees. And there are a lot of those old castles from the medieval castles. Sorry.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful region.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I really I was really enchanted by this nature there, and there's not many people living there. It's very secluded, and this special castle Puy-Vert has a kind of strange magic, because it's you go in there and there's one horse living inside the walls of this castle, and this horse it's like very tame, and it's
like a wild horse.
I don't think so. No, but
okay.
It's a strange thing. We took photos there, and there's always this horse and the ruin.
That's crazy.
That is the place where the finale of the Ninth Gate was shot, and it changed my reception of the film, and but I think it's a kind of a parody more than anything else. It more relates to his film. The Fearless Vampire Killers from the 60s, where he parodied the Hammer film productions from England.
Yeah.
And I think he has a lot of black humor going on. So for me, a film like A Dark Song, or even Nicholas Winding Refn's film, The Neon Demon, Neon Demon can be seen as a kind of a sacrifice ritual by a three-woman coven who lure a very young girl into their into their surroundings to create this star, and then they consume her.
That one's crazy.
And I think this is it can be taken really seriously. Most people hate films by Nicholas Winding Refn. I like them, and I think he also dealt with paganism and Norse mythology in the film Valhalla Rising in a very serious way and a very interesting way. So.
Yeah, I need to catch that one again. I haven't seen that since around when it first came out. I don't really remember it very much. I know a lot of people really love that movie, and sort of the post-industrial scene. I always see references to it popping up, people posting screenshots, and then everybody like, fuck yes.
It's so existentially pagan, and so much pagans against Christians as you have never seen on screen before.
Yeah. And so since you did mention Manson and you're from Berlin, I have to ask, do you have any, have you met Nicholas Schreck? Have you spoken with him any? Because it seems like you guys are sort of on the same page in your sort of film criticism and musical leanings and all these different things. So I had to ask.
I've communicated with him when his book, The Satanic Screen, came out in German, and I reviewed the book very positively as well. I met him just by chance at the Warschauer Straße station in Berlin, because living there or being there at that time, I'm in Mainz again, which is like 6 hours away from Berlin.
Okay.
But at that time, I was there regularly. But we never had personal contact and regular exchange. So our main contact was about that book and me reviewing it. I was aware of his work I think, since 1990 and the Radio Werewolf releases.
Yeah.
And some of the video stuff. There was a legendary mail order company in Wiesbaden, near to my place here, and Artware. It's called Artware, and both people from Artware don't live anymore, unfortunately. Or I don't know. The guy, I think he had a car accident, and I don't know if he still lives, but he was not able to run the label anymore. And his partner Donna, she unfortunately, she died some years ago. And this label, they had all the occult writings, and they had videos from America, and the Richard Kern Cinema of Transgression stuff from New York. And so when I went into their world, I discovered all these things at the same time. Like I went there, and it took me like half a day, and I was really like I was spending hundreds and thousands probably of German marks back then. It was different currency back then, and so I was aware of his work, obviously.
Nice. Yeah, so I've heard, I think it's like unofficial, official, like he has said it, but it's not officially been announced. The Satanic Screen is getting a reprint that should be coming out sometime in the next year. And then, of course, the Manson File is going to sometime in the near future get its 3rd edition finally. I pre-ordered that thing like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he's also on Cyclic Law going to be releasing the French version of his new Abraxas book. So I'm looking forward to all these things. So I figured I'd bring that up for a second there.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's really cool that I'm really excited that you got to see that castle, because The Ninth Gate is one of my favorite movies. I do see where a lot of it is sort of lighthearted, sort of goofy, and I never really took it personally as like a serious occult film, which is why I wanted to hear your thoughts on it as more of an educated person on the topic. I just enjoyed it as a movie, you know what I mean, and didn't really. But
absolutely, that
makes sense. Those scenes, the scenery, the landscapes, the castle, the mansion, all of these different places in the film are, you know, the things that made me love it the most, that keeps bringing me back to it more so than the maybe even the story itself. I just really like revisiting those locations.
Yeah, I totally agree to that. Yeah.
And so God, what's it called? What's the other movie that came out the same year? I don't want to, if you're going to be talking about all this stuff in the near future, I don't want to like mess up what you're doing with that.
My focus will go towards A Dark Song and Neon Demon, because I think films should take the structure of a ritual as the dramaturgy. For me, are the most interesting in that sense, because most, especially American films, kind of feed what was called the satanic panic in the 80s, for example. So there's mainly the fear of God feeding those ideas of occultism in films, and not the interest in really dealing with occult or other esoteric or pagan concepts.
Yeah, and again, that's another topic where Nicholas Schreck falls right into the middle of that. I like a month or two ago, I was watching his interview that he did on one of those talk shows where him and Xena were on there, just standing up for Satanism and just basically having a laugh at the expense of all of Christianity. And at the time, it probably was like, people were like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? But you look back 30 years later and you really see the humor in what they were doing at the time. I mean, to him, he's like, no, we thought this was hilarious. Like, we're, you know, when like with the Radio Werewolf shows, like, oh no, we're backstage just laughing about the death threats and stuff. And it's like, how? And then like 30 years later, you look back and you're like, yeah, well, okay. In hindsight, I could see why this was hilarious to them.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, so I literally had to pull it up because I was having a brain fart. I would also be interested in your thoughts on Eyes Wide Shut, because that's another one of my favorite films that is very occult, sort of kind of related.
Yeah.
It sort of is the main theme and sort of not at all, and also came out in the exact same year as Ninth Gate.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. I would take Eyes Wide Shut pretty seriously, and I think it's underrated, being Stanley Kubrick's last film. Most people were kind of disappointed in this film.
For me, for
me,
15 years, I didn't care about it. I thought this was supposed to be. I didn't even watch it. I'm like, oh, that's that movie where Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise have sex on screen. I don't care about seeing them have sex. I don't care about that movie. And then I just like fell in love with Stanley Kubrick. Like, really like got into all, like, I need to see all of his films now. I came to that decision like 6 or 7 years ago, and then I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, I think it's my favorite of his films. That and The Shining are my two favorite Stanley Kubrick films, personally.
Okay.
So so continue.
I can relate to that because most people really adore like Clockwork Orange or 2001, and but I would be team Eyes Wide Shut and also Shining. Yes, why not? Eyes Wide Shut is based on a very important psychoanalytical novel. And it is taken from the era when psychoanalysis was kind of invented in Vienna, and it takes place in Vienna, the novel. So it was transported into, I think it's New York in the film, isn't it? Or isn't it? Is it mentioned at all?
I don't think it's mentioned. It's just like a generic metropolis.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it looks like the New York, like Manhattan in December, in a way. Anyway, it's moved towards a more universal and more modern and contemporary universe, obviously. But the scenes with a ritual and the orgy, they are really unique, and they can be seen as a parody on a Christian ritual as much as the Black Mass is a parody of this ritual as well. So it's very close. If you call it occult, yes, I would agree. It has something of that. It has a secret society with the own rules and privileged and underprivileged people involved in that. And it has the idea of the sacrifice, the girl that is then probably found dead, actually, in the end. And not in the end, but in the course of things.
Yeah.
So, it's a film taking very interesting and serious things and reinterpreting it in a very postmodern way, probably as well, because it's a double or triple reflection at that stage when Stanley Kubrick actually shot the film then, and he also works with the actors being the real couple they were back then. And Houston, I think there's only one film managing to do that as successful as Wide Shut, which is Irreversible, with Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel. The French
that one's brutal.
It's true, but they are also married and they also have sex, and it's working as well. Gaspar Noé's films have also a very much covered up idea of ritualistic filmmaking. So if you see Climax, one of his
I'm still
films,
trying to get myself interested in him, to be honest with you. Everybody that I respect loves his films, but I just haven't been able to get myself into the headspace to enjoy them properly personally. I've seen, I don't know which ones I've seen. I've seen at least one or two of his films, but they aren't sticking with me the way that they probably should be.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't force anyone to watch his films.
Yeah. Well, when I respect people's opinions on stuff, I usually say to myself, like, if I'm not enjoying this, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. And usually I do come around to things, and I'm like, okay, I get it now.
you have to see that Enter the Void, for example, is an interpretation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and
Interesting.
it is the traveling of the soul leaving the body and being reborn. So this is very occult, very ritualistic in its structure, and it's very subjective at the same time. And his films Lux Aeterna, which he made with Charlotte Gainsbourg and Beatrice Dalle. This film is pure ritual. It's about the Inquisition. It's about burning witches. And it has a huge portion of stroboscope light in the end, which is really hurting. And but his films are.
I should see that one. I'm a huge fan of Charlotte's.
Yeah, you should see it, definitely. It's a short one. It's 40 minutes, I guess.
Like Lars von Trier is up there at the top for me, and she's like his top actress. So
yeah, definitely. But this is, I mean, that's what I was trying to say, that for me, it's very natural to discover ritualistic, occult and esoteric concepts in films most people would never agree. But if you really explain it, and then most people would say, okay, yeah, I've seen it that way. It is like that. But Lars von Trier is definitely interested in these concepts,
yeah,
and even more than Gaspar Noé probably. And people like Niklas Winding Refn, before his films, he is visiting regularly. He's visiting Alejandro Jodorowsky in Paris, and gets a reading of tarot cards to see how he has to work with the new material and all these things. So it's very close to these artists.
Yeah.
And if you talk to them, they are really, you can open them, because that's what they are really interested in. They are asked the wrong questions, as Gal probably would say. And I had this experience when I met Niklas Winding Refn in 2 years ago in Cologne at the Film Festival of Cologne, and he was really open talking about these things, and most people underrate this. And if you see his TV series, the streaming series Too Old to Die Young, it's full of those concepts. It has blood sacrifice and alien energies and astral bodies, and it's a rebirth mythology. It's and Santa Muerte is coming up. It's really like this crazy 13-hour mind trip. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess let's hop back over to your music for a second.
Sure.
Is what has been going on with you since Helios? Do you have any new albums in the works right now? Yeah, what's sort of going on with you right now as far as music? If you don't want to, if you don't want to say, then just say that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a secret. The first thing is that I was asked by a band called Namkar, which I really like, and came to know some years ago. And Mark from Namkar asked me if we shouldn't collaborate on a whole album.
Nice.
And I was really like, okay, that's really interesting, because he has this Tibetan Buddhism background.
Yeah.
And this very ritualistic approach to music. I've seen them live as well. And
awesome.
Was really, getting into this. And I was asking him, okay, is it a concept you have in mind, and what should we do? And he came up with the apocryphic scriptures, like the non-canonized biblical scriptures.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, yeah, I know that from, first from my mother, who was a religion teacher, but then from Current 93, because David Tibet is referring to these things. And I was beginning to read these scriptures. Some of them have been found, and they are available as well. The Gospel of Thomas, for example. And so I really found myself in these things, in the mysticism and the Gnosticism that is involved there. And so we collaborated very much the way I did with Lamia Vox, because we exchanged material. We sent it to and fro like a ping pong and worked on our tracks. And from my side, there was a lot of voice manipulations, like this drone voice or like the shamanic throat singing elements.
Nice.
And I also did some spoken vocals on this because there were the texts. And for me, it was important that the audience will hear some of the lyrics we are referring to, like a poem. And so there's spoken word on this as well. And from the side of Namkar came a huge amount of really ritualistic Eastern, Middle East percussion music. And the album
Wonderful.
sounds very much like Muslim gauze.
Nice.
Yeah, like really percussive, really clean percussions, nothing industrial-like, but very much this pure ritual sound.
Yeah.
And I did never touch any of these sounds. They came to me, and I really worked with them respectfully and kept them the way they were, and got into this and blended into this with my voice and my own. I have like this. I can show some of the stuff. There's this horn, which is...
Here, 1 second. Let me make you
probably
bigger here. I'm going to drag you out across the screen so we can get a nice big shot of all of this. Awesome.
All right. So this is like the horn. I cannot blow the horn now because it's night at the moment.
Yeah, I know it's late over there.
Wake up the night and the neighbors, but I use it during my shows. I have this drumsticks made of bones.
Whoa.
Which are like covered by leather.
Yeah, I saw those I saw those a little while ago. I was wondering what you had there.
And I use a lot of I have all kinds of jaw harps in all sizes, which I use. And most of the time you will not realize that the sources of those sounds, because some of them are manipulated later. But when I use them in concerts, you will actually see what I do, and then you see, okay, that's the horn, that's the voice, and so on.
Awesome.
So that's what we did with the album. And this album will not be out on Cyclic Law, but on Namkar's label, the Winterlight.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, Winterlight also has a very good program and roster of bands.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to collaborate with this label as well. And Mark from the label, he's also called Mark. He is a really kind
okay,
person.
So those are two different Marks.
Yeah, two different.
Okay, because I was like, hold up, Mark is part of Namkar? Okay.
Yeah, no, he isn't. No.
Okay, good.
Not.
I'm glad you.
One is with K, the other with a C.
All right.
And I don't know. My name is Marcus with a C, so it's really like coming together, and nobody knows who he is anymore.
The three Marks.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is that he agreed to do an vinyl album, which I was really happy about.
Oh,
because
wow.
I think the ritual sound is coming out better on a vinyl album, while the more atmospheric and the more electronic sounds come out better on digital, like CDs.
Yeah.
But that's my impression. I know a lot of people would say, no, absolutely wrong. But for my music, my idea of music, this is the way it works. Like the percussive stuff is very much for vinyl. And so the problem at the moment is the resources thing, that a lot of the vinyl plants are having delays, and so our album is already delayed by like 4 months, I guess.
Yeah,
so
this is the way for everybody right now.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are have this problem as well. And so the album will probably be out first on CD and later on vinyl.
Cool.
And but it will be a thing for vinyl, in my impression, because, and even for a double vinyl, because it's really it needs this warm acoustic created sound, which is typical for vinyl. And
Now, of course, I
the
don't
next
need
one.
you to show it to me, but have you already seen? Do you know what the cover art is going to be for this?
We have ideas, and
Okay.
I will not talk about this.
Yeah, no, I
but,
don't. Yeah, I'm more wondering just if it was a yes or no.
But I haven't seen anything because in that case, Winterlight, he's working with graphics
Yeah.
professionally, so he
They do
he has his own
really
ideas,
nice
and
cover art over
yeah,
there. That's why I was
absolutely.
asking. I really just wanted to see like what your
Mm.
reaction was to the cover art,
Yeah.
if you'd seen it yet, because I assumed he was taking care of that end, and
Right.
all of his covers are just really,
Yeah.
really impressive to me.
Absolutely.
I love, that's one of my favorite things about Winterlight is just checking out those cover arts, because it's just like each one of them is just like mind blowing. I've got it's not within hand's reach here, but I really, really love the Gidya one, the Namkar Surchad one. Yeah, there's a bunch of great
Right.
Ronnie's ring. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Ringman. Ronnie Engman, who is also an artist on the label, has been here in chat,
Yeah.
and he has some nice cover arts on there. So
All
yeah,
right.
I'll be Ringman. he's telling me in chat right now. And so actually, while I'm speaking about chat, let me throw a couple of these things out here that people have been saying. Let me just scroll back up. He said very close to the beginning that he's been to Bingen Skate Park. Not sure if this is valuable information.
No, skate park is not. No, that's a misunderstanding.
And before we get any further, also, have you heard that Bingen von Hildegard album that David Lynch did?
Okay.
With,
Hildegard von Bingen is the person, and David Lynch did an album about her work.
Yes, he did it with Jocelyn Montgomery. It was
All
about
right.
10
No,
to 15 years
I
ago.
haven't heard that.
It's a
No,
really,
I
really
haven't heard
nice
that.
album.
Okay, I will check that out. Yeah, that's definitely. I should know that. I don't know why.
No, it's a really, I used to listen to that constantly while I was translating Latin back in like 2011.
I see. Yeah, probably I said Bingen Monastery or something like that. So there was the misunderstanding.
Yeah. And so he also asked, is that a Apotheken bar in Kreuzberg? Kreuzberg? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Kreuzberg is a part of Berlin. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
And,
I think you had mentioned the Apotheken bar earlier in the conversation.
It's Apothekenbar. That is the pharmacist's bar, because the Apothekenbar is located in a 1905 historic pharmacy, and they still have the interiors of that pharmacy there with a lot of bottles and like the all the stuff from back then. And we filmed there for the video. So Lamia Vox was there, and but we mainly we did not use the location obviously, but only as the place where we met. And but the place, the location supported us, and it's my favorite bar at Kreuzberg at Berlin. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to throw those couple of things out there.
Right.
Somebody says epic gear, which I agree. Somebody else said that's going to be a great collab with Namkar. I agree with that as well. I'm really glad I asked you about that, because that's pretty awesome news that you're giving us there. The chat was all pretty happy to hear that that's happening. So I think we're all definitely looking forward to that one. I'm a huge fan of that project, and I'm positive that you working along with them is going to be some really nice material. and they sort of like collaborations are their specialty, I think. So that's awesome that they've got you involved in one of them, because I really like the work that they do, like with Alone in the Hollow Garden. That's an amazing project as well. I don't know if you've heard much of Alone in the Hollow Garden. I've been like really listening to a lot of their stuff lately. I've been reading all of these Anathema Publishing books, particularly Craig Williams' books, Entering the Desert and Cult of Golgotha and Tantric Physics. And so all of these ritual ambient projects have been like really like my main soundtrack sources for the last couple of months.
I see.
And yeah, so, and Namkar did some music specifically for the Entering the Desert book. So that was kind of directly related there. And I'll be talking about that again here in the next couple of days. So that's cool that it cross-pollination of the conversations.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. So, yeah, are there any other things here that we haven't got into that you'd like to move a conversation in the direction of?
Yeah, I would like to mention the following album, which is again a solo work by Vortex, but in collaboration again with Oliver Freund, the guitar player.
Nice.
I'm working with live, and you can actually see us in Europe in the beginning of November at the legendary Wrocław Industrial Festival in Poland, where we will play, as I understand, at the Architectural Museum. And there's only two acts there, and we are the second one. I have to check on Thursday, so on November 4. And so if you have a chance to go to the Wrocław Industrial Festival, be there. It's going to be very impressive, I guess, all 3 days. And it's a great honor to play there, actually, because they have this impressive lineup of really classic industrial-related projects. So what we did is, in the past, which was not a really official release, we used to tour with the film Vampire by Karl Theodor Dreyer, which is an early sound film, but it works like a silent film. So we played along this film as if it was a silent film.
Nice.
And we performed that in several cinemas in Germany. And so the idea came up when we heard that the film Hexen, Witchcraft Through the Ages by Benjamin Christensen, the Danish film from 1922, is having its 100th birthday next year. And so I asked Frederic. I know that Frederic from Cyclic Law is a huge fan of that film. And I asked him if he would be interested in doing a project where we deal with this film in form of a vinyl version and a CD version, which are different. And then we add a version of the film as well in the restored new edition, because as it happens, I know the guy who has the rights to publish this film. So we can collaborate.
This is awesome.
This is like a incredible.
Yeah, before you got to the Hexen part, I was like, oh my god, we hadn't talked about Hexen yet. So yeah. I'm glad you picked that back up, because I really did want to hear about this.
It's very important to talk about this, because this project is basically finished. I have finished the vinyl version, which contains guitars, Droney guitars, very much in the vein of inspired by the band Sun, but it's not like the same sound, but it's inspired by that. And then we have the CD version, which will be finished soon, which is a pure ambient version, which you can then hear along your readings, and or which you can use in rituals, for example. Nice. Or for meditation or for yoga or anything, while the vinyl version is to listen to consciously. So the idea was, you put on the vinyl record and listen to it consciously, while the CD can be used playing along with things, and
Nice.
thus it's the more silent and dark ambient elements are in the foreground. But it's basically the same songs and the same parts. And there's I think it's a 3-part structure with one part, one longer and 2 shorter parts. And it's side A and B, obviously then. And it's 45 minutes. So we have a shortened version of the film, which is more of the highlights of the film, which we show on concerts and then play along these highlight versions. And then the film is shown in its entirety afterwards. So you can see the film then with a new with a different soundtrack then also in the cinemas. And that is the concept which will be shown next year.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That's going to be really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to that. That film is just so there's things that there's things that happened 100 years ago that just seem like, how did that happen back then? People were just
sure.
like good Christians back then, right? How did something like this happen? And like, whether you're just talking about like the writings of H.P. Lovecraft or films like Hexen or something, where it's just like, how did this fall into history like this? And
Absolutely.
that's one of those
incredible.
odd points.
It's even on a technical level, it's incredible, and you see that film with its stop motion animations of little demons and the witch rituals, and then there's a huge part on the so-called devils of Loudun. Where there's was a sexual obsession or possession of the nuns, which was also dealt with in the film The Devils by Ken Russell. All these things coming together in a film made in 1922. That's really amazing.
Yeah, and I don't remember where I read about this, but the concept was sort of like, you would think that people back then would have been like, oh, we can make movies now. We're just going to make like something stupid and happy and boring. But no, like from the very, very beginning, they were like, oh, we need to incorporate darkness immediately. We need to make horror films. We need to make witch films. We need to make like it was like at the very forefront. They were like, oh, cool, we can do this now. Like, they were ready for it.
I think in the film began in 1895, and you're absolutely right, because people like pioneers like Georges Méliès immediately incorporated the presence of ghosts and sorcery in their films, and but that film dealt seriously with these things took like 2 decades already. So there was something going on between the lines sometimes in films like by David Wark Griffiths or so. But a film like Hexen is still really unique in its context as well, like as a film in a Scandinavian country back then, and probably a little bit like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari in Germany, for example, which also has a lot of connections to occult contexts as well, and Nosferatu, also the Gothic horror film. And but it's, for me, it's always very fascinating to see the line from literature, imagination, from the pictorial arts, then like paintings of the dark romanticism, and then going through cinema into more and more pop culture, subculture, and so on. So there's a lot of things being connected, which you recognize in retrospect much more than probably 50 years ago people would have imagined.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, well, cool. So I think that's all the questions that I have for you today. Again, if there's anything else that you want to throw in here, feel free to. I'm not in a hurry to end this thing, but I also don't want to just drag us on for the sake of dragging on. So
No, Not too much. I would like to say that it's been a pleasure to talk to you about these things, because most people just adore the sound. Some people are into the topics and content as well, but most people are interested in the sound. It's always fascinating and to talk to people who are really interested in the concepts. So we talked about the concepts as well. I tend to include really booklets which have a lot of liner notes and like probably an essay like in Helios or something like that, to inform people about what my motivation is with all these things. The reactions are not really there are not many people reacting to this actually, and I would invite people actually, if you want to communicate on these things, I'm open for that. I'm interested in that. Also, the artwork is very important for me, and collaboration with certain artists like Niall, the guy who made this also this Helios cover. And
yeah, he does
Sportsfall.
really, really great work. Here, hold that back
Very
up again one more time.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, because I just wanted to pull you up across
Yeah.
the screen there so we could see that. Yeah, just so people could have a look. All right, cool.
And it has this this concept which is like spread on the inside as well. And so I like discussing these things. And we had this release, Moloch, which is about the mythology of the urban scape as well, like the city Moloch, and using this mythology as a metaphor. And this is about actually a trip to New York I did, and which features a lot of photos I did there, for example.
Nice.
And so the artwork here is also done by the director of Man of Fire, Danilo. So he made this artwork.
That's
as well.
cool. Yeah, that's a beautiful album. That was my introduction to your music there.
I see. Okay. And this has also the drone guitars. So we return to this guitar drones from Moloch on the Hexen album.
Nice.
So if you like that, you will hopefully also like these.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Hexen album will, and it's not ready yet, so I can only show you the artwork by Nadine, who makes all these. So, for example, she made this box for Mars for my folk project.
Yeah.
And she is very much inspired by shamanistic elements, and so she uses like natural elements to create collages. In a way to build like new images out of that. And she will make the artwork for Hexen with chalk drawings, like naturalistic chalk drawings based on the film. I have seen some of them, really amazing, but I cannot show you now.
Yeah, understood.
But it will look really dark and really attractive. You will want to like put it on the wall.
Awesome. Yeah, well, maybe you'll have to see if you can get somebody to do like a poster of it. I'm always
I hope so,
I'm always pushing people to make more posters of the album covers, and like you know, it like when I was into more mainstream stuff, like I always was buying the poster for my favorite albums, and since I've got into dark ambient, it's like nobody does the posters. And then Cryo Chamber did one poster, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "It's too expensive to ship." I'm like, "Just charge people twice as much money." Like, just charge them $40, they'll buy it.
Okay. I hope that some people who organize the shows will create or print posters from
true. That would be the perfect timing for it.
Yeah, and so we can use it probably then, and I will keep you up to date on this project.
Nice.
Definitely. And I'm really happy you like this stuff. And it's very important to have people like giving a feedback and also reflecting and giving you inspiration as well. And so, yeah,
Yeah, well,
I'm
that's
looking
good to know,
forward to all of
and
this.
I hope some, I hope some fans will reach out to you because some artists just don't want to hear people's input at all. Some people only want to hear like praise, and other people, as it sounds with you, like are more interested in really having a dialogue. So,
Yeah, it's a
that's
process. For me, it's an artistic, creative process, and it needs this kind of dynamics. So I love to do these performances as well. And if you are interested, you can see the As Gods Fall performance in full with the whole video in the background as well on YouTube. It was on the festival by Felius, the Phobos Festival at Wuppertal. And you will find it definitely in a complete version on YouTube.
nice. Yeah, so I just typed in Phobos Festival Vortex,
The
and it's
Phobos
right there
Festival,
at the
yeah.
top. So let me just 1 second here. I'll drag this onto the screen so people can have a look at what you're talking about. Just play a little second of it here. Oh, that Cyclic lull beginning little thing there is pretty cool. Yeah, so it's on the Martin Sturzer channel that I got pulled up here, guys.
That's true.
So
And he was the organizer.
yeah, and Martin does, like, his whole channel is full of amazing dark ambient concerts. So if anybody listening and watching has not browsed his YouTube channel, you should run there.
Definitely.
And also, your t-shirt is awesome. I mentioned that. I don't think I mentioned it actually live. So yeah, Vortex Abyssal Hauntology, very cool.
Yeah,
So where can we get that shirt at?
Abyssal Hauntology, yeah. It's a bit inspired by Mark Fisher's writings on hauntology, his interpretation of it, and also referring to like David Lynch concepts and Lustmord and all this. So I see it a little bit as in this philosophical tradition, and it features the Triskel, which is the vortex, obviously. Then,
Yeah,
and I'm pretty happy about this. It was designed by Nadine, who also does the new artwork, and it's available at Cyclic Law.
perfect.
On the normal web store there.
Yeah, and they probably also have it on the Bandcamp. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff going on over there on Cyclic Law's web store. So again, also, as I've been talking about with Anathema Publishing, a good place to plug that. They are now selling each other's stuff. So if you're here in America, a bunch of that Cyclic Law stuff is available on Anathema's page. And if you're trying to pick up some of those books out of Canada, you can get those over there on the Cyclic Law page. And you can pick up his awesome t-shirt while you're at it, and his awesome albums, I think all of which at this point are on Cyclic Law, right? The
only one which is the first one is on Tesco, and it's still available at Tesco, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but all the others are on Cyclic Law, and as it should be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greetings to Frederick, and thank you for the collaboration all the years now.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think when I started to really get into reviewing all of these albums back in like 2015 to 2016, and Cyclic Law was huge back then, but in my personal opinion, right now they are bigger than they've ever been. I think what he's doing with the label on all fronts is just really phenomenal work. He's expanding his he's expanding into greater post-industrial genres, as I was saying before. Like sort of Vortex and Lamia Vox were really the only things back around 2015 that were really that had that much tribal ritualistic elements to them, and things like Osala Sacral. That shit is amazing. I don't know if you're much into that project. I love those guys' work. So there's some really great stuff happening with Frederick and Cyclic Law right now. So it's absolutely the place for you to be. But at the same time, it's really cool that you're going to be doing this album with Winterlight, because I really have a lot of respect for that label as well. So if you were to do something elsewhere, I think that's a great place to be. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's for the collaboration. It is perfect, and it was out of respect for Namka as well, because they are located there and
Yeah,
they are
that's
really
there.
happy there. And so for me, it was like expanding a little bit and experiencing another surrounding then. But yeah, I think I will be on Cyclic Law because I'm very happy for all this context you just mentioned, like from philosophy, literature to music, sounds, and probably sometimes also audiovisual stuff. We'll see.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to mention your necklace is really badass, or a combination of
Yeah, that
necklaces. Is
was
that something
yeah.
that you would want to actually mention, or is it just like, yeah, thank you?
No, it's a ritual piece. It was given to me by my partner Nadine, the artwork artist, and she creates, as I said, things out of natural materials. And this is also like the boar teeth.
Yeah.
So and the boar is a protective animal for me, and that's a very shamanistic piece, if you want.
Nice. So did she create that specifically for you, or does she sell
Yeah,
these?
she might sell things like that in the future, because she's really interested in creating things and also selling these. But this was made for me and for the stage as well, because
Nice.
I wear them with. I also have this Raven's head, which I wear around then, and because all of this has this very strong shamanistic approach, which I also tend to like celebrate on stage then.
Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. All right, man. Well,
Yeah, thank you for having me.
yeah,
And thank you for
the
listening.
pleasure
And
is mine. I am very pleased to have you on here. So, yeah, I love your music. As I said, I've been listening to your music since I got into this collection of genres that are all sort of a family together. And the movie talk and the Rome talk were pleasant surprises. It's
right.
that's always nice. So thank you so much to you. Thanks to everybody that's been hanging out with us here today in chat. And I guess we'll go ahead and call it a night. So you and everybody else here have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Yeah. Bye-bye from me as well. Greetings from Germany.
Yes. And greetings from near Baltimore. Peace, everybody. All right, we're done, man.